So today we'll discuss VPN. Have you used VPN in your laptop? Anyone can answer.
Yes,
What is it for?
we are currently using it for connecting to the IIT Goa intranet for accessing the ML server.
Okay, excellent. So that's fine. It's good. So essentially, you are using your laptop. In laptop, we'll have VPN client through which you are connecting to IIT Goa. Okay, VPN, and then over internet. So that's perfectly the most important use of VPN. All right. Let's look at what VPNs are and then what are different types of VPN. So we'll study two VPNs in this class and one VPN we'll study in the next class, which is very important. It's called IPsec. Okay. So we'll study the following. What is the motivation for VPN, which I think you know. VPN consists of two factors, tunneling and encryption. Then we'll look at what are different kinds of encapsulation methodologies available, right? Uh, First is GRE, which is generic routing encapsulation, not encryption. Actually, it's wrongly written. Layer 2 encapsulation, we'll study in brief. Then we'll study a protocol called PPTP. Then we'll study a protocol called L2TP. And then IPsec. We'll look at only top level idea or concept of IPsec VPN. And the next class, we'll study VPN, IPsec VPN in detail. Okay, so these are the topics. Question is that why do we need VPN? Okay, we need VPN because internet does not provide any security. As simple as that. We have seen all possible kinds of attacks that can happen over IP network or internet. Okay, there is no authentication for source address, no authentication for destination address. It means that you can uh, create a packet with whatever source address you want, and if authentication is based on source address, then you can always enter a network that allows only certain users from based on certain IP addresses. Okay, and there are a number of ways to to read the packets that are going in between or change the packets and do denial of service. Okay, so we need to have some mechanism for remote users to have security. It means that I am sitting at home and I want to connect to the campus, IIT Goa campus, and then I want to do some coding or do something which is very confidential. I don't want anybody on internet to know about it. So I may be using a Wi-Fi, a public Wi-Fi, and that Wi-Fi may be insecure because anybody can actually read Wi-Fi packets, and it doesn't require very expensive device to read whatever you are doing over Wi-Fi. So I need a tunnel from my laptop to destination where my packets over which my packets will go. Okay. So that's the motivation, and we've seen that IP, UDP, TCP, Ethernet packets all are insecure in the sense that these protocols have been designed say 50 years back, 40 years back, and they were not designed with security in mind. They were designed for altogether different purposes. Okay? So there's no authentication, integrity check, no source authentication, and TCP sessions can be examined, guessed, hijacked. This TCP security will study maybe possibly in the next week. Okay. Similarly, we have seen already in L2 security chapter that ARP, DSCP, and DNS protocols can be spoofed, and traffic can be redirected to malicious sources. Okay. And routing protocols we have seen BGP, ARP, and ISIS All these are not secure routing protocols. Right? So what is the solution, right? Suppose you are on the left side of subnet, which may be your home subnet, and then you may want to connect to IIT Goa subnet. Okay, or you can consider there are two parts of same organization. One possible way is to use the private network line, or we can call it leased line. These leased lines are essentially a dedicated channel given to you by some service provider, say BSNL or Airtel. They will give you a dedicated link or channel. We'll not say a piece of wire or fiber they will give, but they will give a channel. Okay, and that can using that you can connect to subnet, and then you have kind of private network. All right. So, but this is not a very easy solution, right? So basically, if you have multiple sub organizations, then you will have to hire such a lease line, right, for each subnet connectivity. Now, number of lease lines that you need to rent out will be just too many. And secondly, these lease lines are very expensive, very, very expensive, right? So, and this is, so it means that many organizations have done that, right? So for example, I remember I worked in a large organization in India, and that had a headquarter in US, and then there was a lease line between the two because the traffic between two centers were just too much, right? So lease line was actually fully occupied, but that is not the case if the organization is small or you are a remote worker and then you want to connect to office or some other location. So that's so using private network line or lease line is not a easy solution, right? It's expensive solution meant only for certain use cases. Okay, then we can use VPN. Okay, now VPN we are going to use mostly over internet. Now internet is the de facto technology, right? I mean, if suppose you ask a service provider to give you connectivity over any technology, then they will say that we have only internet. They will not tell you that they have MPLS or they have ATM or they have frame relay or they have SONET. That's all not the possibility today. I mean, because Ethernet and IP are sitting everywhere. So they will say that, okay, we are giving you internet. It means that IP network they are giving you. And then you can create secure tunnel, and then you can send your packets over that. Okay. So now we'll look at what is tunnel and what is encryption. Okay. So if you combine these two technologies in various forms, then you get VPN. Okay. That's all. So all VPN that we have now, based on either, where the packets are going. Okay. For example, you may use L2 technology to carry IP packet. That normally we do. You can use IP because IP is at a source available to you. Within IP packet that's available by service provider, you can put another set of IP packets, or you can put Ethernet packets, and those Ethernet packets internally can contain IP packets. So all possible combinations are there. Okay, and we'll see that how and what are the popular technologies. Okay, all right. So tunnel we create by packet or frame encapsulation. Okay, so I have written a word frame in bracket, right? So frame, when we talk of packet for layer 2, say Ethernet, right? We call it frame. So if you read any chapter on Ethernet, you will not hear word called packet. Now packet is essentially layer 3 entity. Okay. So however, when we talk in general, right, and many authors use word packet also for something that is frame. Okay. So we'll use this terminologies interchangeably, but when you put a packet inside a packet, or when you put a frame inside a packet, then you create a tunnel. So it's like, very simple example is, suppose you send a postcard to your friend. Okay. Okay. Then you know what postcard is, right? On one side of the card, you write whatever you want to write. And the other side of card, you write the destination address, name of the recipient, and the complete address, and then sender's name. Okay. Now, content of this postcard is known to everyone, right? I mean, suppose in your hostel, the postcard is delivered, right, and it's lying on the table. Anybody can read that. So IP packets are also like that anybody can read that. So what is the way? Now, you may not want some important person, say your girlfriend, to send you a postcard with all whatever things written over that. Okay, that's not a good thing, right? Because you want some privacy. Okay, and okay, you don't want any of your friends to read what your friend has written. So what do you do then? You'll say that please don't send postcards henceforth, or put your postcard inside an envelope and send envelope. Okay. So the second solution, where your friend will put postcard inside an envelope and write on an envelope your name. Okay. Is actually analogous example of tunnel. Okay. So when we create tunnel, then we put the original IP packet that we want to hide over another IP packet. Okay, how do we do it and what is the advantage, that we'll see. But this methodology we call as tunnel. Okay. So once we create tunnel, if we have original packet of frame available, then we need additional header. Okay, like outer envelope. Okay. Okay. And then that packet or original or you know, the envelope, outer envelope, will travel through a normal route. Okay, that is over. So your tunnel packet will travel over normal internet. Okay, so that logical path that encapsulated packet travel is called tunnel. Okay, now when encapsulated packet reaches destination, they are decapsulated to get the original data. Like your covered envelope reaches to you, that is sent by your friend, then you will open it up. Yeah, that's nothing but decapsulation. Okay, and you get the original postcard. Okay, so tunneling can be defined as process of encapsulating one protocol into another. Fine. Okay. So this example shows how tunneling is done. We have one subnet on the left hand side, the other subnet on right hand side here. You can see their numbers, right? So this is 192.168.1.0/24, and this is 192.168.2.0. Okay, so both are different subnets, and you may want to connect them, right? So basically, now how do you do it then? Right. So what you do is that this is Ethernet, and Ethernet is connected to gateway router, the normal process. Okay, so there's another gateway, say in the recipient LAN or destination LAN, and there's internet in between. Okay, and what you do is that you create tunnel between these two entities. So gateway router and another gateway router. Okay, and the traffic in between is, of course, I mean, because it's in kind of reliable subnet, so you don't have to worry much about security. Okay. So once your packet is received, or Ethernet frame is, a packet or frame, whatever is received by this entity, it will encapsulate that inside another packet. So this is the original packet. The source address is 192.168.1.11, somewhere here. and the sorry, somewhere here, and destination is 192.168.2.22 somewhere there. And then once it reaches this gateway, this packet reaches this gateway, then it will put inside this envelope. This is one where source address is address of this port 168.36.210.57, and destination is of this port here. Okay, 168.6.4.2 of the router. Okay, so aside, what we are creating is a tunnel between these two. The packets are going inside another packet. Okay, all right. So this is example of a tunnel. Okay, when this packet comes here, then inner packet will be taken out and will be sent over the line here and finally reach to the destination node. All right, simple. So in your example of, for example, somebody sending you postcard, or let's assume that multiple of your friends are sending postcards to you and many other people, right? So let's assume that IIT Goa has two campuses, a campus here in Goa or maybe campus in say Bombay. And then what the institute can decide is that all the postcard that's receiving in IIT Goa for IIT Goa Bombay campus will be put inside a big envelope, okay, or packet or box, and that box will have only just address of say the campus in Bombay. Okay, that's it. Okay, and then that somebody in that campus will open that and again send it locally to different people out there. Okay? So this is example of how tunneling will work, and that we use very often, right? Post offices, our normal post offices work exactly on that way, that all the letters that you write, okay, they put that in a box, and then box goes to Delhi, for example, if box is meant to Delhi, right? And then somebody opens up the box and it locally delivers that. Courier companies also work in the same way. So coming to slide number 11, so we can see terminology here that we have normal payload, right? Then we create a tunnel between two gateways. So this is a tunnel. These are the two tunnel endpoints. Okay, and then we have original packet. We call it tunnel payload, and then transit header. Now this header here is only required in the transit, like your envelope on top of a postcard, right? That envelope has meaning only for transmission in the tunnel till it reaches the endpoint. Okay, all right. Okay. Now, so we have seen that there are two parts to creation of VPN. First is tunneling, which we discussed in brief, and second is encryption. Okay. Now, while we create the tunnel, right, all we are doing is putting one packet inside another. That gives some level of security because people will not know who is sending. Okay, and but it's not 100% secure because if encapsulated packet can be taken out, right? Because I mean, you know the header and you know when the next packet is starting. Okay, then you can take out the inner packet, and so it's not very secure. So in order to have security, we will encrypt and decrypt the data that's coming and going, right? So here there is a tunnel that's created between two endpoints, and whatever data is going to tunnel can be encrypted with some key. Okay, normally we use symmetric keys for encryption. Okay, symmetric shared keys, and then on the receiving end, the tunnel data out from the tunnel is decrypted, and vice versa. Okay. Now the question that I'm going to ask you is that in the VPN that you use to connect to the campus, who is providing the key and how keys are shared? Think about it and ask system admin guy. All right. Okay. So that this diagram shows the two features combined. Okay. The first thing is that you create a tunnel. That's the first step. And then you encrypt and decrypt the data that's incoming, that's outgoing or incoming, right? So outgoing data has to be encrypted and incoming data has to be decrypted. That's all, right? That's all what VPN is. Now, what kind of technologies we use, what kind of encryption we use, okay, how do we create tunnels? There are a number of ways of creating tunnels, and there are a number of ways of doing encryption. In addition to encryption, we can also do authentication, which is use some kind of hash function, hash of something to authenticate source and destination, right? Primary source authentication. So if you combine these three and various technologies, you get various VPNs. Okay. First is how do you create tunnel? So without tunnel, you don't have VPN. That's for sure, right? So you have to think of how to create tunnel, whether you are going to send IP packet inside IP packet or you are going to send Ethernet packets over IP packet, and those Ethernet packets will contain IP packet, or you will, there's a technology called PPP, a point-to-point link, point-to-point protocol, right, which was initially used for connecting your machine over a dial-up link, right? So you, I don't think you would have seen that there used to be a modem. Earlier, we never had, you know, ADSL, DSL, or a fiber coming to home. We had normal telephone line, PSTN line, which works on analog system. So you have computer sitting at your home, and then you will have to dial in from here to ISP, Internet Service Provider, which was government organization. And over that dial-in link, right, you will have to run this protocol called PPP. Okay, for point-to-point protocol for layer 2. And on top of PPP were internet packets. Okay, so that's how we used to connect about say 20 years back. Okay, so but so dial-in technology is all gone because you have now network internet coming to your home either through wireless or through fiber or Ethernet cable or some broadband cable. Okay, so you don't need dial-in, but that protocol survives. Okay, because it's very simple layer 2 protocol. It's connection oriented protocol, right? So it used to create connection between say your dial-up modem to internet service provider, and then once this connection is there, then it will do some kind of authentication, and then communication can start. Okay, so once we combine these 2 or 3 things, first encapsulation and secondly encryption decryption technologies, then we get, and some authentication, then we get a VPN. Okay, so all VPNs technologies around it, various combination of that, various protocols of that. Okay. Okay, so tunneling does not come free. Okay, there's a lot of overhead because once you're putting your postcard inside an envelope, you have to use envelope, right? That's the self cost. Then envelope size goes big, right? And so there is extra cost. Okay, and then you are going to encrypt. Encryption is also expensive, right? Because encryption takes time. So you use better encryption, which will have 256 bits in key or more than that. It will take time. It will have better security, but you'll have more overhead. So when we create VPN channel or tunnel, and use encryption, then it comes with a cost. All right. So what are the important technologies, tunneling technologies? Now all VPNs are based on different tunneling technology. Encryption technologies remain the same. Okay. Now we are going, once channel is established, then we are going to use mainly symmetric encryption techniques, either DES or AES or one of those. And hashing is one of the hashing algorithm for authentication. So first thing is that's very important is creation of tunnel. Okay, and all VPNs are based on are named after tunneling technology. Okay, they are not named after say encryption technologies, right? So the tunneling technologies are GRE, which is generic routing encapsulation, and second is PPTP, point-to-point tunneling protocol based encapsulation. Then L2TP, which is very popular now, layer 2 tunneling protocol. Then we have layer 3 tunneling protocol like IPsec, where IP goes within IP, and some other protocols can also go within IP. And then we have MPLS, which is multi-protocol label switching. Now, in the talk today, we'll cover the first two, that is GRE and layer 2 tunneling protocol. Within that, PPTP and L2TP. We will briefly touch upon IPsec, and we'll cover that in the next class. Not fully, partly, because it's a pretty complex protocol, right? It's very, very complex protocol. It has large number of combination options and so on. So we will look at only few features of IPsec in the next class. And MPLS is very interesting technology, which I wish you would have covered in your networking class. But I don't think we'll have time to cover MPLS because it will take at least 2 classes to even understand the concept. Okay, just a minute. All right. Let's come to the next page. Just give me a minute. Okay, all right. Now look at this diagram. So these are what this diagram shows is various options that are available. Okay. At application level, we have SSL, secure socket layer, or SSH. Okay. And then network layer, we have large number of technologies. Okay, which are based on different encapsulation protocols like GRE, PPTP, L2TP, and MPLS. And then we have IPsec and MPPP. Okay, and then we have encryption largely on link layer. So these are the technologies that we have. Okay, and various combination of these gives us various VPN solution. Okay. All right, any questions? Any question? Okay, so we have not covered SSH and SSL yet, but we will sometime or other we'll look at these concepts. Okay. So let's study GRE, generic routing encapsulation. We will not go into detail again because this is a long draft. Any protocol that is described by IETF or any other organization will have huge draft, right? Maybe at least 40, 50 pages to describe this, right? Okay. So it is very generic in nature. Okay. And that's the reason it is heavily used. It means that generic in the sense that we can use this to carry any kind of traffic over, say, IP. Okay. So, here what we are discussing is the carrier or the one which will carry other kind of traffic is IPv4. That's we call a delivery header, because the net that's available to us today, okay, is IPv4 based, right? IP protocol version 4, not IPv6 based, right? So IPv4 is something that we use nowadays, right? And it's amazing why IPv6 has not become popular as yet. There are a lot of reasons around that, which possibly you would have covered in your networking class. Okay. Now, some organizations decide to use IPv6. Okay. Say for example, say IIT Goa computer science department here decides to use IPv6. Okay, and there's some other department, somewhere else also using IPv6, and they need to send the data, IPv6 data to each other. Right now, since now the internet outside the public internet is based on IPv4. Okay, then this IPv6 traffic has to be carried to that endpoint over IPv4 packet. Okay, so we can use for this particular application in very generic technology, which is GRE. Okay. All right. So one good advantage is that this protocol supports not only point-to-point communication, which we call it unicast communication, but also multicast and broadcast communication. Okay. I hope you understand what multicast is and what broadcast is, right? There are protocols that support multicast routing and multicast distribution of messages, and then broadcast. Broadcast we have seen in case of Ethernet, we do broadcast. Okay, it means that source is one and destination is all possible destinations over that net, over that subnet or net. Okay, multicast is when source is one, but number of destinations are more than one, unlimited ones, right? So you create a set of destination and say that one packet that I am sending has to go to so many destinations. Then we call that traffic as multicast traffic. And these multicast protocols are very interesting and complex protocols. I hope you would have touched upon some of these protocols in your networking course. Okay. Now, see all these technologies that we have shown here, GRE, PPTP, L2TP, MPLS, IPsec, etc., they basically provide tunneling. Okay. And then with tunneling, we have to use some encryption method. Then we have to use the encryption protocol. And that encryption protocol also has to work properly because the keys have to be shared. Okay, from one end to another end, or common key understanding has to be there. Okay, and for that we use some kind of protocol. Just a minute. Just a minute, folks. Somebody has called, and just better take this phone. Okay, all right. Can you hear me now? Anybody, please answer.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So let's move ahead. Somebody called me from the office. Okay, so we are talking about the GRE. GRE is stateless. It's very, very important thing. When we say stateless, it means that it's non-connection oriented. Right? Any thing where connection is, or there is a circuit, then the end nodes have to keep state information intact for some time at least, right? Okay. So whether packet is received or not received, what number of packets is received, what is the next packet to be received, and all that. And stateless, like we have servers, right? I mean, for HTTP server or whatever, they don't keep the state. You send a query to them, they respond back, and they forget about you, right? So GRE, similarly, GRE works on stateless principle, right? There's no knowledge of configuration or even existence of remote terminal point. So if you are using GRE, what the node at your end will do is essentially do encapsulation and send it, not bother whether the other end there is a recipient who can GRE capable or not. Okay, so that it means that this whole protocol is very simple. Okay, and then we use protocol number 47, protocol type 47. What is it? If you look at IP header, then there is something called protocol field. Okay, there's something for UDP, something for TCP. It means that that protocol type field will say that what is the type of data that is sitting in the body of IP packet. Okay, so when it says 47, it means that the body of that IP packet beyond header will contain GRE packet. Okay, all right, fine. So basically what we are doing is we are carrying within X IP packet some other traffic, but that has to be enveloped within GRE frame. Okay, all right. So the next slide, is slide number 20, shows GRE header structure. Okay, this is the GRE header that we add to the payload. Okay, payload is actual content that will go inside GRE packet, and GRE packet will go inside IP packet, or maybe UDP and then IP, depending on what configurations the machine is using, right? So GRE packet header will contain all these numbers, which is of very little importance here, accepting that protocol type. Now, protocol type here will say what is it sitting inside the payload part of GRE packet. Okay, so because you know when the recipient or the machine is scanning that packet that's received, it should know what is inside and use that protocol. If it's a TCP, for example, then TCP protocol is to be then packet has to be given to software that handles TCP packet, right? And so on. Okay, then we have sequence number and then key, which are the optional field. Okay, so it's very primitive, very simple. All right, let's look at another diagram. So this is Ingress interface. Okay, and this router supports VPN using GRE. So you have data, normal data. It could be, for example, your Ethernet frame. You are trying to connect two LANs at say one campus, and second is some remote campus, and then you will feed that Ethernet frame inside IP packet. Okay, and that IP packet will go to router. Now this IP packet may go inside another, say, Ethernet frame. Okay, and go to router. Router will look at this IP packet, and then it will add GRE header to that, and that GRE header will go inside carrier IP packet. This is carrier IP packet, which will be only between two endpoints or two, say, gateways. Okay, so once this thing reaches to the other end, okay, other gateway, the IP packet is first removed. Okay, then it will remove GRE, and then IP and data will be sent to the destination. All right. So it's quite simple. Okay. Now, next diagram that's on slide number 22 shows this thing that first we create. Okay. In the previous example, it simply shows how to cover, how to make a tunnel. Okay. Now, if we can use, we can make it secure by using IPsec as a tunnel, right? So basically, then we will have to use GRE along with IPsec, which will provide encryption. Okay. So it means that we are trying to use some features of IPsec, which will create encryption, and use it with GRE to provide both encryption solution over a tunnel, okay, and getting the VPN. All right. Any question? Any question?
So can you please explain IPsec tunnel again?
IPsec tunnel. Okay. Okay. Basically, with GRE, we are creating tunnel. Okay, that we need to encrypt it now. Okay, we need to use DES or AES or some other encryption method. Now, how do we, how these two nodes will have understanding to use a particular DES, particular encryption algorithm. Okay, because there can be number of encryption algorithms that are supported by our network. So they have to decide on one of the encryption algorithms, and that decision is not alone sufficient, right? Then they have to exchange some parameters for this algorithm to work. Okay. Okay. So basically, IPsec uses Diffie-Hellman key exchange algorithm, key distribution algorithm. So internally, it means that keys are to be shared between two entities here, and then algorithm has to be decided. And then tunneling, of course, is provided by GRE. So that we call it IPsec tunnel, or essentially IPsec encryption. All right. So here it's sufficient for you to understand that IPsec is providing encryption and authentication if authentication feature is on. So it's not necessary for IPsec to always provide authentication, but by default it provides encryption and authentication. Okay. While GRE will provide just simple encapsulation. That's it. Okay. All right. Got it? Any other question? All right. Okay. Now GRE, we have not said that works at layer 2, but it's very generic. So we have discussed it separately. So let's look at the layer 2 encapsulation. Okay. Now layer 2 here essentially means P2P protocol. It's a point-to-point protocol. Okay. So both matters, LLTP and PPTP and L2TP are based on PPP protocol. Of course, there is a version, higher version of L2TP protocol that does not use PPP. That we call it Ethernet pseudo wire. We'll come to that later. But earlier protocols and most of the VPNs today that are available uses L2TP and uses PPP protocol. Okay. Tunnel we have discussed like a session. Now when creating a tunnel, then both endpoints should agree on creation of tunnel. What could be parameters for tunnel? There can be some parameters. We'll have to look into that, which could be configuration parameters, okay? Which could be security parameters, right? Which could also relate to the lifetime of the tunnel, okay, and so on. Okay? which can also be based on what layer 2 and layer 3 technologies are to be used, right? So number of parameters are possible. Okay, datagram transferred across tunnel is sent using datagram based protocol. Fine, something that we discussed earlier. And tunnel maintenance protocol is used as a means to manage the tunnel. Now, okay, once we create a tunnel, okay, then we can create a sub-tunnel within that will do the job of maintenance, right? Which will have some control packets transmitted, whose role is not to carry payload or actual data, but thus maintenance of the whole thing, right? So, say for example, if there are two entities at two ends cooperating with each other to provide VPN solutions, then they need to communicate with each other in some way or other, right? So first for the creation, then deletion of VPN, okay, and then maintenance in between, right? So we have that protocol that we call as tunnel maintenance protocol. So tunnel is created, maintained, and terminated. That's the lifetime of a tunnel. Okay, all right. So now let's come to PPTP, point-to-point tunneling protocol. Now, first thing I want to say that it was enormously popular protocol in the beginning. It was very simple and very fast, but it's now obsolete. Okay. So we'll look at this in brief. Okay. Are you able to hear me? Because my internet connection is weak.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. I am not keeping my video on because I know the bandwidth is very low here in this part of Goa. So PPTP is the oldest type of VPN. It's widely implemented. Okay, and if you see your laptop, possibly look at the VPN options, whether your OS supports VPN. Windows surely will have PPTP as the supported VPN solution. So PPTP supports on-demand multi-protocol VPN over public networks such as internet. So PPTP encapsulates PP packets inside IP datagram. So IP is external layer or carrier, and that carrier will contain PPP. You can think PPP as Ethernet packet, okay? And that PPP will internal carry something, okay? Like in your LAN, Ethernet runs over wire or fiber, and the Ethernet carries some payload which is IP packet, and then IP packet also carries payload which is UDP, and UDP carries payload which is application data. Similarly here, PPP payload will carry some other type of data that has to be carried across, and that PPP data could be Ethernet, or it could be IP, or it could be anything. Okay. So that PPP packet will go over IP packet, and because IP is a carrier now. Okay. Okay. This diagram shows that there is a PPTP tunnel here. Okay. So so it's something like this. This is nothing but this encapsulation. So this is the original packet. So this is generating original IP packet. PC1 is generating original IP packet, which has a payload and header. Now the header will go here as an outer header. Okay. Okay. Because destination address has to be the same here in this case. Okay. Now, and then the payload will come here, and inner IP header will also be this IP header. Okay. So it means that this IP header is coming here to IP external IP header, and then the whole packet is also coming in the payload part. And then there are two additional header, which is PPP header and GRE header. Now so now here we have shown one possible solution. There is also solution where this IP header could be that of a internet gateway. There's a possibility, right? Or if GRE tunnel is initiated between these two endpoints, it could be between these two, right? So the external IP address will be external IP packet address will be this will be source and this will be destination, and then there are other combinations possible. Okay. Now this is another configuration wherein GRE tunnel is extended right to the PC rather than the gateway. Gateway just pass it through. Okay. It depends how do you configure your machine and the gateway and so on. Okay. Now only thing that you need to consider is that we are using GRE generic encapsulation mechanism, and that uses PPP inside for connection creation. Okay, and that can carry any kind of traffic inside. We are showing here as IP, but it could be anything. But all these things, GRE plus PPP plus whatever packet is originally there, has to go inside an IP packet. Okay. And now here, this diagram shows how do we connect two LANs over PPTP VPN. There's a LAN here, okay, and the other LAN at this place, right? Okay, and then we are running PPP over Ethernet. Okay, and then we are creating this PPP tunnel and sending, and then that will carry all Ethernet traffic to other side. So essentially, we are creating a large net, right? Or we are connecting two subnets or two subnets and organization. Okay. Okay. So if you see that global IP address of this subnet is 200.1.1.201, is 200.1.1.202. Although these two may be continent apart, okay? But if suppose you have CS department in IIT Goa and then CS department, you have a branch somewhere, say in Bombay or somewhere else, then you can connect your LAN or you can extend your LAN over PPTP VPN using this methodology. Okay. All right. Okay. So these are the details. So PPTP does not specify any encryption protocol or authentication feature. It just gives tunneling feature, right? So whatever we have seen here or here, it simply says that how to tunnel packets. Okay. Now we can use other encryption protocols. Say for example, we can use IPsec for encryption. Okay. All right. So, or we can use, some companies like Microsoft has created point-to-point encryption protocol, which is their proprietary protocol. But then PPP data can be encrypted using that protocol. So it means that we need to use some external, well-known encryption protocol. Okay. Okay, so all right. So we'll skip that same thing that we have discussed earlier. Okay, let's discuss the next protocol, which is L2TP. Now, again, the previous protocol that we discussed was again based on L2 technology, layer 2, which is because PPP is layer 2 technology. Now, PPP can directly run over, say, some medium, like in case of modem, or it can run over, say, Ethernet. Okay, when it's run over Ethernet, even then it's called layer 2 technology. Okay, uh, 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 because it runs over Ethernet. So, I mean, although Ethernet is also L2 technology, ideally we should call something that runs over L2 as L3, but here we are calling because the nature of this protocol is that of L2. Okay, does not carry IP packet, so we call it L2 technology here. Now let's look at L2TP. Now this is more generic form of PPTP. Okay, and it is developed jointly by Cisco and Microsoft. It's more generic in the nature. It means that it allows PPP over IP, it allows PPP over frame relay, and PPP over ATM. Okay, now we have seen that internet is default technology, so we have used PPP over IP. So it means that IP is carrier technology and we're using PPP. Now all these things were developed some 10 years back or 15 years back, where frame relay and ATM were also popular. Okay, now frame relay and ATM have some use, but these are almost non-existent in public network. Okay, so basically now wherever we use L2DP, we use PPP or IP. In most of the cases, it runs over UDP. It allows multiple tunnels to be created within the same endpoint. That so far we have seen that we are creating one tunnel, right? This is one tunnel, but once you have, so it's possible that we can create multiple tunnels also between same endpoint, which is natural feature, good feature. And these multiple tunnels can have different quality of service parameters. Now, question I'm asking you, what is QoS? What are different QoS parameters have you studied? Anyone? Quality of service. Suppose you are talking to somebody over internet, say some of your friends who is in US and you're talking to him. What parameters are important?
Latency.
What is QoS parameters? Quality of service. What quality parameters you would like to have when you're talking to somebody over internet?
Low packet loss.
Yes.
Latency.
Yeah. What else? Good, very good. Okay, so basically we have, if the delay between two entities or transmission delay is very high, right, then you will not be able to talk to person properly. I mean, it used to be when you are making internet, so not really internet, but when we used to make phone call, and phone call used to go over satellite, and then there is 100 millisecond or more delay, then you will have to very careful when talking, because before you are completing sentence, the person doesn't know, and then he will respond back. Okay, and so there used to be some protocol that you'll use. You'll say that after you finish, you say, okay, I'm done. Then person will respond back and so on. Right? So if there's a huge delay, then there is a problem. Okay. Now, second important parameter is delay variance, or we call it jitter. Okay. So when I'm talking to you, there is a pause in between, right? I mean, between two words and then between two sentences. Now that delay variance must remain the same. So my voice should appear as what I am speaking, rather than it should not look like a song. Okay. So the parameters that are important, QoS parameters, the delay variance, and loss. Okay, these 2-3 parameters are important. And of course, in this, when two endpoints are talking to each other, they may also want some bandwidth, higher bandwidth. All right. So different QoS, different tunnels need to be created between endpoints with different QoS, and they should be capable of transmitting non-IP protocol or IP protocol. Okay, say for example, you may want to send what is a non-IP protocol, say ATM over IP. Okay, you may want to send also Ethernet over IP, because Ethernet is supporting technology to IP, but not truly internet technology. Okay. So, all right. So you may want to, for example, send Ethernet frame over IP. Then this technology must support. Okay, it should have header compression and some flow control mechanism. All right, but again, it does not provide encryption and confidentiality. Okay, so this slide shows the header. Okay, so we have IP header, UDP header, L2TP header, PPP header, and of course encrypted data header, right? I mean, whatever, it could be IP packet. This header here is a carrier packet. The carrier with the public IP. So this corresponds to public IP. All right, so it will become clear here. So this diagram shows that we have created one L2TP tunnel between LSC and LNS. The LSC is L2TP access concentrator. It means it can have multiple connections. There are multiple PCs can be there. It can connect to LSC and may demand connection to some LNS. Okay, like multiple people who are in one department may want to create a tunnel to some other place. Okay, then LSC will bundle them together and send it over this tunnel. Okay, so L2TP access concentrator acts as a client and initiates the tunnel. And then we have LNS, which is L2TP network server. Okay, which will receive all these requests and endpoint of the tunnel. Okay. It will listen to incoming tunnel request. Fine. So tunnel is created between LSC and LNS, and then there is a PPP connection that goes end to end. Okay. So if the PPP connection is created here, right, it will go up to LNS. Now again, the various configurations are possible. One configuration say that there will be PPP connection between these two, and there's another PPP connection between LSC and LNS. Okay, depending on how we are configuring it. But the fact, what important thing is that PPP here is a layer 2 technology. It may run again over Ethernet or anything. Similarly, IP here, internet here, IP may run over whatever. That's not really a concern, and it's not even visible what underneath technology is using to carry IP packets. Okay, so role of LSC is that it encapsulates PPP packets and sends them over to L2TP tunnel. Okay, so essentially L2TP tunnel is created first, and then it will send over PPP packet. Okay, now PPP
So
packet
what is the use of PPP connection here?
Okay, PPP connection is actually between the endpoints. Okay, so you are creating PPP tunnel from your machine. Say your machine connected over say modem. We are showing some Ethernet or some line. So there has to be something, right? That will carry, and then this PPP protocol will create a connection up to this point here. Now L2TP, remember, is a big pipe. Within that there will be small channels that will go corresponding to different users. This diagram shows here only one machine. There can be 100 such machines. Okay, so we are creating PPP tunnel that will go almost up to terminator point. Now terminator here assuming is LNS. Okay, and where L2TP tunnel here may carry many such PPP subtunnels. Okay, now I will request you to please read PPP. Then you will understand it, right? So now it may be confusing because there are one protocol sitting over other protocols, right? Okay. Let's look at. Okay, all right. This diagram, so it will become much clearer. Okay, so this is a PPP. Sorry, this is L2TP tunnel. Okay, and then this tunnel will carry PPP subtunnel. Okay, and then this L2TP tunnel will carry it over a carrier, which is IP or UDP. Okay, so all right, so it will be encapsulation will be as follows. You have, okay, all right, so you have some information, some packet, maybe your voice packet or something that will be carried across, okay, securely. That's the aim. Now you will put that something that you are sending, say your voice or video or whatever, over UDP packet. Okay, here we are assuming UDP. Okay, because IP does not work in isolation, right? IP has to use either UDP or TCP because it has to give information to some entity, and that entity will be named using some port. Okay, so it will use UDP, for example. So your data is going as IP information over UDP, and that UDP, of course, is part of the carrier. Will go over IP. Okay, now you are still something you are generating at this point in time here. Okay, now that will be put under PPP frame, because now this will put under PPP frame. Here PPPoE is nothing but PPP over Ethernet. So PPP frame will carry this data. It will put the header, and when it comes here, it will put inside L2TP frame. Okay, and this L2TP frame then again go over what? A carrier frame, right? Which is IP. Now this IP will carry L2TP frame. L2TP frame internally will carry PPP frame, will carry internally whatever you are sending. So there are multiple level of encapsulation is done here. Why do we do it? Because you may want to use this channel for sending multiple such connections, and each connection will carry traffic for 2 endpoints. Say you may have multiple such channels, right? Maybe you have 4 such channels, and then these 4 channels will go over this tunnel and will go to 4 different destinations or 4 different users. So all combinations are possible here. Okay. Now, until you really understand what L2TP frame is and what PPP frame is, it's very difficult to visualize all this, right? Now, my purpose of giving all this information is to understand this at the top level. Okay, how technologies work. Okay, how we are trying to achieve security with encapsulation and encryption. Okay, and in order to do encapsulation, what are different methodologies possible? Okay, and if you have to do encryption, what is important, right? So now this framework gives the combination to do this. Now still it does not give framework to do encryption. It means that it has to work in conjunction with some supported encryption protocol, and one of that, of course, is IPsec. Okay, here it shows the flow message. Okay, now again, certain things may not be clear to you because all this information is not available in any particular book. Okay, so it's bits and pieces. I have got it from somewhere or other. So and there is not much detail available until you go through the complete draft, IETF draft. It could be too much of work for you. Okay, so first thing first is that this guy requests a session with some user. Okay, so essentially it may want to create a channel, or it may want to send the data to some user, say somewhere here, or connected to this one. Okay, let's assume that somewhere, I mean, some user connected to this endpoint. It will send this request. Okay, to start PPPoE session with user ID. So it's connected over Ethernet, so it will do a PPP session over Ethernet. And when request comes here, right, it will look at the address where it wants to connect to, the destination address, and then select this machine, whatever is gateway or terminating L2TP server, okay, which you call it LNS. Okay, it will create a L2TP tunnel. Okay. This L2TP tunnel is created. All these things are then messages are sent from one end to another end for creation of these tunnels. First is, of course, it will send it to a DNS server to find out what is the IP address of this, and then create a tunnel. Shown here. And then this machine will send authentication message, and the machine here will respond back, and everything is okay. Then PPP section is established between two ends. Okay, so these are some message exchanges, right? It happens. So once this L2TP tunnel is available, then multiple such PPP connections can be established between two ends. Okay, now all this diagram shows is the following. We are not going to too much of detail. So once LAC gets a request to create a communication channel or tunnel with endpoint, some endpoint, first it does is it creates L2TP tunnel. Okay, in order to create L2TP tunnel, it has to agree on certain parameters. Okay, so there must be some agreement between LAC and LNS. Okay, okay, and then once established, then it will admit PPP connection, and PPP connection in turn will carry whatever traffic a user may have. Okay, say IP packet or whatever. All right. Okay, so now what we have discussed here is use of PPP protocol. Okay, the latest version of this protocol, this L2TP version 3, which we call it the Ethernet pseudowire. Now L2, okay, L2TP v3 Ethernet pseudowire can be used to transport Ethernet frames across IP backbone network, which is to connect to Ethernet LAN together. Okay. Now here we have used PPP. Now PPP in turn may carry something, say IP packet or maybe Ethernet packet frames. Okay. Now we'll have to look at the specification what all it can carry. Okay. Now instead of PPP, can we directly send Ethernet frames over IP packet? Okay, using L2TP protocol. So essentially it will have IP is external carrier carrying L2TP frame, and those L2TP frames will carry Ethernet frame. Okay, so this is what we'll show here, right? Okay, so here is the one VLAN, and that is to be extended to other sites. Okay, now So there is L2TP tunnel between these two endpoints. So we have, okay. Now this L2TP frame, this L2TP will carry Ethernet frame. Okay. And then, which is essentially the traffic that's going from VLAN 1 here to other VLAN 1 on the other side. And this L2TP frame will go over IP. Or UDP will fit over UDP and then through IP. That's it. So, okay. So this is the technology. So ultimately, IP will carry here L2TP frame, and that will carry Ethernet frame. Okay. In this way, we can extend VLAN 1 to other side. All right. Any question? So all that we have discussed is different encapsulation technologies. Okay. Now, very brief, we'll look at IP VPN because I think it will take a lot of time to understand because it has, large number of modes, right? It works in tunneling mode, it works in transport mode, it works with encryption, it works with encryption plus authentication, works only in authentication mode. Okay, and then it uses Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol. It's quite complex. I will request you to read about Diffie-Hellman. Okay, pick up any book and try to understand how key exchanges happen. Okay, this could be good exercise for you. Okay. Okay, IPsec is very popular and kind of heavily used, but at the same time, it's very complex. Now, it can do two functions. First is authentication, and second is encryption. Okay. Of course, it does tunneling. Okay, so it uses tunnels and then authentication and encryption. IPsec protects one or two paths between pair of hosts or security gateways. Okay. It provides confidentiality, source authentication, integrity, and replay protection. Okay. We'll study this in the next class in detail. Now, the use cases of IPsec are as follows, right? So, if there can be remote user connected to corporate network over VPN. So, his laptop or mobile phone can have VPN, can connect through point of presence over internet to corporate, or it could be some extranet. The extranet is a net or your website or corporate network visible to an external entity. Okay, for example, if you visit, say, IBM.com, that net that's visible to you is for a general user, right? But if there is for example, a vendor, okay, of IBM that's trying to do something with or have some has to use the website of IBM for some order entry or something, okay, then that net is called extranet. Okay, it's consumer to business. So that person, say salesman or somebody who's not part of the organization, may want to connect to corporate network or a corporate network with limited access. Okay, then it can be done through VPN or telecommuter. For example, some employee sitting at home connected through DSL cable, connected to corporate network over internet will also use VPN, right? IPsec VPN. So these are normal use cases of IPsec. All right. Okay, so now we are coming to the last part of VPN. Now, IPsec we have not discussed in detail. We just looked at what IPsec is. We'll read this in detail in the next class. What kind of VPNs we use in normal life? So apart from the VPN that you have to connect to the campus, that solution is built-in, right? You are using a client in your laptop, and there is a server gateway in the institute, and you are handshaking between. There is a handshake between the two, and then a message is encrypted and encapsulated. I want you to find out what kind of encapsulation it is using. And second thing is what kind of encryption technology it's using. Please try to find out. It may be using either Cisco-based VPN solution or some other solution, depending on what switches they have bought there. Okay, if it is Cisco switch, then you will have Cisco client on your laptop, and then you will have to find out. Okay. Now, how do you choose a VPN? Suppose I want to connect, I am at home, not into corporate network, and I'm connecting to some website. Okay, now when you are connecting from your home, because your home network is not protected network, right? Most of you will connect to either through a mobile or through Wi-Fi router. A Wi-Fi router, most of the good Wi-Fi routers have VPN functionality, but that router has to communicate with somebody. Okay, let's assume that now your laptop is connected over some Wi-Fi network or Ethernet network that does not have VPN, but your laptop has VPN. Now you want to connect to, you want to do some browsing, and you have some security software installed on a machine that will say use my VPN, and it's available to you for some cost, with some cost, right? What does it do? What is the endpoint? How will it know the endpoint? For example, you are browsing, you are downloading to Netflix, or you are actually watching Netflix movies. And your security software will prompt you to use the VPN provided by that company. And there are also third-party VPN service providers. Who's going to create tunnel, and between what endpoints?
You would need a second server on the other end, right?
Yeah, that's right. So just think about it. Think about it when you are using non-institutional VPN, because when you're connecting to campus, solution is obvious, very simple. When you're not connecting to, when you're connecting to general website, or you browsing or Netflix movie, then what? Who is it? Do you think that Netflix will provide you secure connection? Think about it. I am asking you this question because yes, you need to just think about it. Huh? Okay, and when you are buying a VPN, what are the criteria you need to use? Okay, I have to decide on VPN connection. I don't have VPN connection when I connect to.
Preferably one with more server locations, something.
Yes, very important. Very good point. You'll have to see how many servers they have, and whether that server is with single hop connected to your website, and which you may not know. I mean, so when you do google.com, where is the Google server? How do you know? And you really bothered where it is, whether it's located in India, US, China, somewhere? Okay, so your answer is very correct. Number of servers. So that will give some idea that yes, they will have possibly a server which is close to endpoint where you are connecting to. What else?
So, but most of this general VPNs, they don't have servers in China. Why is that so?
China is a very special country. Chinese government doesn't provide any security protection. Okay. Okay, they don't in fact provide Google. They are Baidu. So they don't have everything that routes to China is read by government. So VPN has become very popular in China, by the way, because the Chinese didn't want their government to to look at what they are sending. But the government has again done something so that they can't create VPNs also. Okay, but you can also use VPN for anonymity. You may want to hide who's communicating, right? So this can be used for many criminal activities also, right? Location hiding. For example, you may want to watch a movie over Netflix. I have not tried this, but I think it's possible. Okay, and that movie is only for distribution in US. Okay, but you may want to see that movie. So what you can do is that you can create a VPN to that server, some server in US, and from there, if your request goes, all right, you may also want to know what VPN technology it is using, right? I mean, if it's using the obsolete ones, then it's useless because now there is a claim that large number of free VPN solutions that's available today use some very obsolete technology for namesake. So VPN we use to provide end-to-end security when we are communicating over internet, because internet does not provide security. VPNs achieve security by essentially two things. First is tunneling, second is encryption. It may also want to do authentication. Then it will use some kind of hash and authentication, other authentication method that we have studied. We have studied two types of VPNs. First is PPTP, second is L2TP. And of course, we also discussed in brief GRE. Okay. In addition to that, there is one important technology which is called IPsec. We will discuss in the next class again in brief. Okay, we'll not go into details of protocols. Okay, all right. Thank you. Any questions?